Today I've come to the NEC, not for a model railway exhibition, but for the TCT Manufacturing Show, majoring on 3D printing and innovative technologies. Now, it's the biggest show of its type in the country, with over 10,000 people coming in for over 3 days, and there's an awful lot for us to see. So I brought Andy York as well, and we're going to have a good look round at some of the technology. As you can see, we're starting off with this is a moderator for RM Web, and this is actually a 3D printed suit from the original film, and it just shows how much technology's come on, because you look at how smooth this is and how realistic. You can't tell that this has been printed, so it just shows how things are moving on. So we'll have a good look round and bring you the latest technology.
One of the first things that we've actually found as we're walking around the show is a brand new material that I've not seen before. So I'm with Phil Adamson of Paragon Rapid Technologies. What have you got then, Phil?
Hi Andy, thanks for that. Yeah, so we've got a technology called DLS, manufactured by Carbon 3D in the States, Silicon Valley. We're the first production partner in the UK, so I really feel that technology is disruptive technology. It's DLP, but it's 100% dense. It's aimed for additive manufacturing, true additive manufacturing.
Right. But it's got an amazing property to it, hasn't it, this material?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a range of materials, there's rubbers, there's rigids, there's high temp, there's biocompatible materials. It's basically a mini injection molding machine.
Right. And obviously as a business that you offer these services to customers that want to produce these parts.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 3 machines at the moment. We've also got a parts washer to help streamline the processing afterwards. And we can go from you can prototype the machine, which is ideal, but you can go from low hundreds into early thousands.
Okay, it certainly seems viable, I mean, for certain components. But this is the astonishing bit about it, when you pick up something like this, and there we go, look at that, flexible.
Absolutely,
yeah,
and a lot of that's in the design,
yeah.
But it's obviously the material, and it's just lots of iterations to get to that point, but it gives so much flexibility to designers, and can condense manufacturing lead times. Which
is absolutely brilliant for small components such as vac pipes, brake pipes, etc. There's a lot of components that we actually use, or manufacturers could use, that could benefit from that sort of approach, less damage in the end item.
Absolutely.
This is what we call additive printing, where you've got the print head, which is right in the middle of this thing here. It's squirting a molten plastic on and building up layers as it works around the model. Now, if you imagine this, it's like using an icing bag on a cake or something like that. You are literally squirting the material on, building it up, going round and round, and the material, because it's hot, will all bond together and stick to make one solid plastic thing. A few little things to think about when you're looking at printers like this. First is the bed heated? Because you want the first bit of plastic to stick down to it properly, and so a heated bed will just mean that the model won't move around on the while it's being printed. The other thing is how thick are the various layers. The thinner the layers, the better the results you'll get from the end of it. And then the other thing to consider is size of bed, how big a model can you print, and also how tall is how tall a model can you print. Right, I'm over here on the Monoprice stand now with Alessandro, looking at what has got to be one of the smaller printers in the show. How big is it?
It's a Select Mini 3D printer. It's the build print size is about 12 by 12 by 10 centimeters.
So that's the bed. That's the bed that it's printing on. So you can print something up to 12 centimeters square, 10 centimeters tall.
Correct.
It's the one next to it is rattling away at a fair old rate. So this is. I should explain to the readers, this is what we call additive printing, isn't it?
That's correct.
Where essentially you're extruding PLA or ABS onto building up the layers.
Correct, that's correct. So we have 2 models. This is like our version 3, and we call it the Mini Pro, which is on top of heated build plate, he has also auto bed leveling.
Right, because the heated build plate makes sure that the model sticks to the build plate and doesn't move around, so
That's
reduces
correct.
wastage. And okay, we're looking at a very small printer. What the crucial thing with a lot of these things, obviously, is to ask is resolution. How thin are the layers?
So the resolution for this printer is about 50 microns.
That's very small, isn't it?
Yes.
Micron's very small. And rattling away there, it takes normal spools of printer filament.
Yes, 0.75, 1.75 millimeters.
Yeah. Now, I mean, a lot of our readers are looking at these sort of things and been put off by the price, but I think you're going to tell me quite a good price on these ones.
Yeah, the price for the V2 version is about £200, and this version is about £240.
So we're looking at £240 to get you into 3D printing.
That's
straight
correct.
away.
It's an entry-level printer that it's very easy to use, and you can use it after 10 minutes that you unbox it. You can run a print.
I'm here with Martin Bjork of 3D Prima, and we've got a couple of things to look at on the stand today. First of all, we've got a really small 3D printer working away, and I know this is quite a bargain device.
Yes, it is. It's quite one of our personal favorite models, actually. It comes in at €249. So in pounds, that would be 220, maybe. Yeah. So it's a really nice entry printer, and even for professional use, I appreciate it. It has a fairly small print surface, 12 by 12 by 12 centimeters, but it has all the things you need in a printer. It has a heated build plate, and that's very important to get so you can use different types of filament. And then you have an easy to use on-screen handling. And you have connection through Wi-Fi or USB or SD card.
Right, so it's a real great entry-level printer, and you could prototype stuff on it, and certainly use it to get if you want to get a feel of 3D printing without spending a lot of money.
Exactly correct. And we also know that people who has a more professional printer has this as a extra printer just for printing small stuff.
Right, brilliant. Now, you mentioned the filament, and it's a big roll of filament on there. Now, the rest of the stand has got masses of different filaments on it. Now, I'm a little bit familiar with ABS and PLA, but what are they all just different colours, or have we got different materials I'm not aware of?
We have a lot of different materials. I think that the most common ones are ABS and PLA, and I think also during the past few years PETG has risen to be one of the more popular ones.
What's BTG?
The same materials you have in a Coca-Cola bottle, a PET bottle.
Oh right, so you can actually print your own Coca-Cola bottles effectively?
If you would like so, yes.
Okay, but you've also got some quite exotic materials on here, and I'm seeing some metallics and some wooden things, I think.
Yes, that's correct. We have metallics before us here, and this particular one is bronze. And this one is how it comes out from the printer, and this one is the polished one.
So there's actually real bronze in the filament then?
It actually is, yes, 80%. So you have the real weight of it. It feels like metal, it behaves like metal, it even smells like metal.
Wow, okay. And I mean, is it just bronze, or are there other metals available?
You have brass and copper also, and we're working on other types also. But for the moment it's brass, copper and bronze.
So, but the great thing is you can polish them up, so we could make a brass object and then polish it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Now, behind you, you've got another really interesting one, and this feels like wood.
And that is because it actually is wood. You have a PLA-based filament, and then we have a mix with about 40% wood. So it smells like wood and it behaves like wood. You can drill it and you can treat it like you would any type of wood, actually. And
well,
if you smell it, you actually smells wood.
It does actually smell wood. This is what fascinated me about it, that we're printing wood. I can't think of an immediate modelling use for it, but it's a fascinating technology. And again, there's several other variants around there. So, I mean, roughly how many types of filament do you sell?
Oh, I think we have about 30 different types, and then on top of that all the different colors and variants, so it's quite a lot actually.
that's an amazing selection.
We were walking around the show and really taken with this. I mean, you can't fail to notice it. HO scale destroyer, Royal Navy destroyer. So this is Malcolm Nichols Limited, and here I am. We started talking, and you know an awful lot about the model industry, don't you?
I'd like to think so, yes.
Yeah.
Our company's been going 47 years. It was my father-in-law who started the business originally. He makes models by hand. We've then got a team of model makers to support him. And then from that we've grown with 3D printing 22 years ago.
Right.
We have machines a variety of types of machines that all produce at different tolerances. We have an ultra-high resolution, which is more interested for your trained models as well. So that will create detail that other machines just wouldn't be able to touch or even create.
So just going back to the destroyer, you said that initially you built an Airfix model,
That's
scanned
correct.
it, and then obviously scaled it upwards.
Yep, reverse engineered from that, created the hull of the boat. That then gave us the size that we want for the rest of the ship. And then the rest was taken from drawings, photographs or diagrams.
But you do it the other way as well, where
Yes.
you're taking data obviously from real life objects.
Yes, absolutely.
converting
And
it
again,
into
you might
models.
see the power breathe that we've got over here. We've made that as a larger scale, literally just to attract attention, a bit like the boat, but at a smaller scale, yes.
That's splendid. And you've alluded to the fact that you do work with quite a few of the model companies as well.
Yes, we do, and we also work with, let's say, your vintage car side of things, classic cars that parts you can't get anymore, that we can then scan and then turn that into a physical model, that we can use that as a pattern, and then we can tool and cast from that. So if you wanted to say 10, 20 at a time, that's a perfect way to go. If you want hundreds at a time, we might do a multi-impression tool, and literally from data to desk you could have parts in about a week and a half.
Really? Okay. This is really interesting. Actually, when it comes down to it, Tracy probably knows a lot more than you or I do about what's coming in the next year or two, model-wise.
Women know everything, and I'm usually ahead of most men, so yes, you're right.
For really fine printing, instead of using additive printing, you actually print using resin. Now, this printer here is working with a pool of resin, and that is set using a light underneath, either a laser or an LCD screen. And you actually notice that it sets the resin, lifts the thing out of the resin pool, and then puts it back in again to get another good coat on the resin there. Now this liquid might look a bit innocuous, but you've got to start thinking it's about 60 to 80 pounds a kilo. So you've got to fill the bath, and then you'll cure a little bit of it, and that's what the light's doing at the moment. It will give you really excellent results, but obviously it's a lot more expensive, and the machines at the moment do tend to be smaller than the additive ones.
I've come to see Adam on Formlabs. Stan, Formlabs is one of the better known brands for 3D printing in the UK and elsewhere in the world. So I've seen a lot of your products actually within the hobby. We've already got what we call cottage industries in the hobby who've started using this as part of their business production. So can you describe to me what the printer is, Form 2, and what it does?
So it's a stereolithography printer, SLA for short. Basically means it uses liquid resin, which has a photo initiator inside it. And it uses a laser to hit that resin. When the laser hits the resin, it forms a solid point.
Yeah.
And we can use it to trace out a layer.
Right.
The reason the Form 2 has become so superior is that it offers really, really high resolution, up to 25 microns for layer size.
Right.
And the fact that it uses advanced heaters and things like a wiper and stuff that can alert you to when your printer is going to fail. The heater makes it less likely to fail, so you're heating the resin up to optimal standard.
Right.
One of the things that we pride ourselves on is the ability to create new and different types of resins. So we have 16 different types of resins right now.
Right.
Everything from engineering type resins, stuff that's going to be tough or heat deflection, stuff that's going to be extremely flexible,
Yeah.
so to the point where you wouldn't even know that it was printed as one solid part, and
Right.
really flexible that you can use in that kind of application. Stuff like castable wax that you can then take to a casting house and get your jewelry made out of it,
Yeah.
dentistry, all this kind of stuff. For people like yourself in the kind of model making industry, we have like grey pro, white, all stuff that can be really treated afterwards as
Yeah.
well, so you can paint them and sand them down and give them all kinds of finishes that you want.
So cost-wise, with the Form 2, it's what, about £2,500, is it?
Yeah. So the basic package about 2.5, and then you get for above that, you can get the form wash and form cure thrown in.
Right.
And also a complete package, which also contains a litre of resin.
Okay.
The form wash and form cure are really necessary because after you finish an SLA print, it's going to be dripping in resin.
Right.
So the wash just takes care of washing it. It's an automated process.
Yeah.
Put it in there, set your time. Each resin will require different time. So stuff that's more photoreactive, like clear, won't require that much washing.
Yeah.
After that, it will pull up the print, let it air dry for a couple minutes, then you can put it straight into the cure.
Right.
So you don't have to mess around with designing your own kind of cure solutions or setting someplace in the sun. We put it up. It uses a similar kind of laser, similar kind of technology to what's in the Form.
Yeah.
The Form 2. You set your heat and your temperature, and you set your time, and you just let it do its thing. And by the time you're finished, it'll be fully ready to go.
Okay. Now, what sort of size items can you actually produce in the bed for the Form 2, or the tank, I should say?
Yeah, so you can print extremely small details. So here's our kind of like quality, like small little house. So this one will print with supports on it.
Yeah.
As you can see there. Then you got this one that's printed at 25 microns.
Yeah.
So you can print up to pretty much exactly what you see here, this build platform, and the whole volume.
Right.
So that's pretty much as much.
How
as
long
you
would
can
it
print.
take to print Benedict then?
That would take about 6 hours.
6 hours, yeah. But it's a really nice, smooth finish. That's gone through the washing and curing process as well.
Yeah, so it's fully washed, fully cured.
Because on this, you cannot feel, let alone see, any layering at all in there.
Exactly, and that's the major advantage of SLA as opposed to FDM, you know? It's the fact that you can't see, many times you can't even see the layer lines.
Yeah.
So you can be, you know, a lot of times you'll be so surprised that it was printed on a 3D printer.
Right. I'm here with Maciej, who's CEO of Zmorph, to look at these rather fantastic machines they've got there that I actually think will quite a benefit for small guys who haven't got an awful lot of workshop space but want a lot of different machines. So Maciej, what are we looking at here?
So this is our new machine, a VX model. It's a multi-tool machine which is based on a very good quality 3D printer, but it doesn't mean you can just print on it, because you can exchange quickly the toolhead. Quickly means 2-3 minutes plus maybe calibration in case of extruder, and you can start a mill with a CNC milling toolhead or laser engrave with a laser toolhead. It gives you, of course, very different possibilities in terms of how you fabricate your work. This is an example of our drone, which is fully made on our machine except of engines and electronic parts. So the PCB has been laser engraved on a laser toolhead. The other parts were milled on a milling configuration, and the plastic parts were 3D printed.
So basically, the one machine with different heads does all the jobs. Yes. I mean that's incredibly useful in terms of small workshop space and variety. I've got to ask the big question that all the readers will be looking. What sort of prices are we looking at for this kit?
So you can have a printing set for €2,399, right, and a full set with all the toolheads we've been discussing, plus the a clay extruder for €3,799.
That doesn't, I'll be honest, that doesn't seem like a huge amount of money for quite reasonable sized bed machines.
In my opinion, it's a great value for money. It's probably the best one you can find with this kind of machine, and this is really a multi-tool, because competition has been focused on making some toys which were not able to properly print, CNC mill and laser engrave. We've been focusing our several years development since 2013 to build machine which is serious, solid, reliable and of a good quality.
Now, you may have seen these pieces of kit around before. Laser scanning of the real railway items to actually be shrunk down to model size. So you'll have seen these sort of scanners standing on top of taller tripods, load of golf balls down on the ground around the item being scanned, and this thing firing away. How many times a second does that actually capture data?
So it's constantly revolving, so it's doing a full 360 scan, and then revolving around 360 as well. Right. So we're collecting millions of data points. So it's more the amount of points we're capturing rather than the points per second.
Yeah. So it's absolutely massive operation. You've got to keep moving this around large objects like that.
So if we're doing, say we're doing a rectangular object like a train or something like that, or a bus, we'll probably position that in about 6 or 7 different positions.
Yeah.
Depending on if we need to get any undercuts, so get underneath, then we'd need to raise the train or raise the vehicle and get the scanner low down.
Yeah.
It will sit as low as, well, it'll go lower than it is on this tripod.
Yeah.
And then we can get an angle to scan upwards as well.
And we spoke about the challenges of different finishes, weather, wet items and
Highly
so on.
reflective surfaces can be an issue, so we have ways of dulling the surface down.
Yeah.
If it's a gloss black finish and it's been sort of polished constantly, then we need to put like a polish or a dulling powder. Now an object as big as a train, then we'd, if anything, go for the polish. The scanners are getting better all the time. They will pick up the black surfaces now, better than they did a few years ago, but it's still an optical challenge.
Because when we were talking earlier, you said obviously when you were scanning a vehicle that you put T-cut all over it, so you get a matte finish.
If we're doing cars that are very sort of collectible or historical value, we do a lot of old cars that are, nowadays are very valuable. We use car polish.
Right.
We put the car polish on. When it dries and goes a matte white, we then scan it and then we polish the car afterwards.
Right.
So at the end of it, the car often goes back to its owner better than it did when it came.
Not as practical to do, obviously, with a whole size train anyway, but worth finding out. But it's always sort of like, it's been interesting today walking around here. How many people have had contact with the modelling world? And this happened to yourself as well when we were talking earlier, that we've got a mutual acquaintance, haven't we? Jason Schron from Canada, because you were involved in scanning the bus for him.
We have, we scanned the bus at Whittle Transport Museum, and that was a full external scan. We did the roof and underside as well, so that's quite interesting because I went down, they lifted the bus up in the air using their big jacks, and then we actually scanned underneath, and it was like a mini open day at the Whittle Museum, so there were lots of trained people there.
They had a scanning party for the event.
That's it.
So obviously this was the man that's making the most accurate 4mm scale of a Brummy bus that will be available in the near future. So it's been interesting to catch you on that. But I've got to ask then, I mean, sort of like, can I afford one of these for Christmas?
Depends how big your pockets are at Christmas.
Yeah.
Have you got a very generous Santa? Or?
I don't think so. But go on, they're not cheap pieces of kit, are they?
Roughly £100,000, that one.
Yeah, this is the ultra high detail.
That's the ultra high. That's actually a short range, so that one's very small range but very high definition.
Yeah.
You've got the one here behind us. That one's about €50,000.
Right.
But that will scan up to 110 metres away.
So that's 50,000. That's actually a lot cheaper. So please keep those digital subscriptions coming in, because Phil and I would like one. Well, it's been an interesting day, hasn't it?
It certainly has. I mean, it's a big show and there is a hell of a lot to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fascinated by all the different technologies, different materials out there, and every year there are different printers, better printers, faster printers and cheaper printers as well.
Yeah, because we've seen some stuff that's really rock bottom in terms of pricing, but not necessarily quality, so it's certainly a good entry-level point.
There's a lot of opportunities to get very entry-level printing for about the price of a locomotive, and it's cheap enough that you can dabble with it and have a go if it looks at all interesting. But then there's so many more possibilities for manufacturing, and even, of course, the whole point, prototyping for bigger companies as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the £200 printer. I could see myself going for something like that, but the one I really did like was the nice designer multi-headed tool with the CNC, the printer CNC and the laser cutter.
Oh yes, I'd really like one of those. That would be a very nice feature in the corner of the workshop. The problem with all this stuff is that you've still got a learning curve to understand how to make the best out of it. But I think if you've got the time and the commitment, then there's a lot of great stuff out here, and there's so many things. Great addition to the modeller's toolbox.
Yeah, and if anybody is interested in 3D printing, bear in mind when it gets around to September, October next year, that anybody can visit this show, and there's actually free entry.
Yes, I mean, it's an absolute bargain day out, isn't it? And if you're interested in technology, it really is great, because all the guys on the stands are so helpful, really happy to stand and chat to you and explain what all the kit is about.